All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our session on moving into the new administration building. I think I know most of you. My name's Steve Snyder. I work in public affairs. I'm also part of the OCR communications and core team. Brian Good is here, Chief Administrative Officer. He's been instrumental in the move. We have several other core team members. Will you raise your hand if you're on the OCR core team too, please? Thank you. These folks are great representatives from their divisions and can help with answering questions and things outside of these meetings and just in the course of kind of day-to-day work. So what we're going to do is go through the big pieces of the move today. We've got a little presentation. We have Kirk from Bueller here. He's going to talk to you as well. Go through the major logistics of moving and then try and leave some extra time to answer questions. By the way, there is a Q&A back there, or an FAQ rather. It was put out in Conduit on Tuesday, so it's also available electronically. So we'll start with the big question. When are we moving? Brian.
All right. We'll get to this. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming. Thanks for making it in on a cold, snowy Thursday morning. We promise it'll be perfect weather when we move, right? As of right now, we are currently planning to move October 31st, November 1st, and 2nd. That is all predicated on getting the final sign-offs from all the permitting agencies. So we do have final plumbing inspection, we have final mechanical, we have zoning, we have elevator, I think have roof. We are waiting on final fire and wastewater sign-off. Which at least wastewater ought to be fairly simple, knock on wood. But we need to get those permits all signed off before we can get what's called our temporary certificate of occupancy. And once we have that, then we can start to go. So there is a chance it could push out a little bit farther than that if we don't get our TCO next week or the week after. But that's what we're planning on doing as of right now. The plan for the actual move weekend is that we are going to close the administration building at noon on that Thursday, so assume it's the 31st. We'll close this building at noon, and then we need everybody to actually leave because I know there's some workaholics here that want to keep working that day or say they still have some things to do, but that's not going to be very helpful when we've got the IT team coming in to try to take the computers apart and get everything out. So we actually need people to leave the building no later than noon on Thursday, the 31st, and then we're going to exercise our continuity of operations plan, or called COOP, on that Thursday afternoon and Friday. So everybody should work with their supervisors, if they're not helping on the move, to kind of help figure out what they can do from home. We are not going to require anybody to take PTO for those couple of days. If you want to, that's fine. Otherwise, talk to your manager to see what you can do from home, work from home, take something home. Don't scratch that wood. Oh, wait. It doesn't matter. But figure out with your supervisor what you can do from home, even if that's working on your 2020 goals, working on updating your 2019 goals, taking a book home, a management article or 2 or 3. Just find something to do for a day and a half if you're going to be working from home. But if it's your normal flex day, then just make it your normal flex day and that kind of thing. But we will not require anybody to take PTO for those days because we are closing for that. Everybody else on this campus is going to still be working a normal shift. Quivus is still going to be working normal days those 2 days. It's only the people in this building. We just need everybody out so we can move safely. So that's kind of the gist of what we're thinking about. And again, if we do have to slide, it'll still be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday with Sunday as a backup in case we need some extra time. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay.
Thank you, Brian. So the next question, how are we moving? You don't actually have to physically pick up your stuff and walk it down to the new administration building. We've hired the Bueller Moving Company to work with us. You'll be hearing from Kirk Velarde here in just a moment. They've got a lot of experience in the industry. They just moved CDOT. couple of years back, so we've been working very carefully with them and very closely. They've helped us develop a schedule, working on best practices, all these types of things. So we're in good hands with Bueller, and so you'll probably be, obviously that day, starting to see a lot of folks moving in and getting things ready. So what to know about the move? Let's start with the totes. A week before the move, so if we're looking at the 31st, that would be the 24th, and if the move gets pushed back, the tote checkout will get pushed back. But a week before the move, the totes will arrive here to the administration building, probably on the first floor, just everywhere we can put them. About, what did we say, 3,000? 3,200 totes. So a lot of totes that will be downstairs. What we're asking you to do is once the totes arrive, and we'll make sure that you know when they're here, to go down. You don't have to make an appointment. You don't have to go with your group. Just go downstairs. There will be a table or a check-in area that'll be well marked, and go up, give them your name, and tell them how many totes you need, up to a maximum of 4. If you have seen those, they're right there. They've been upstairs on display in those mock-up areas on the second floor. Get an idea of how much of your stuff, or how many totes you're going to need to fit your stuff. And keep in mind that we've estimated that our new workspaces will only really handle about 3 full totes max. So keep that in mind as you're packing. But you will go downstairs a week before the move, give them your name, and they will hand you totes, labels, and a chair tag. And Kurt, you want to talk a little bit about kind of the best practices in terms of working with the totes and that sort of thing. Kurt Velarde from Bueller.
Good morning. So when the totes arrive, they're going to come nested, kind of like Tupperware. They'll be stacked in pretty large stacks, and the totes nest into each other quite nicely. So obviously I'm not breaking this all the way down, but you'll get your totes, take them up to your cube. One of the best practices is unstack them and pack into the bottom one first. I've had other clients, their engineering group had the stack of 4, they packed into the top one. It explained to me that it was a real pain that they had to lift each one out while they packed the next one. So pack into the bottom one, close the lid, put an empty on top of that, pack into that one, close the lid. I know it sounds simple, but I do believe there's some engineers in this building. Just kidding, engineers. After you've packed, we want you to place an office moving label, a move label, on your totes. Now, the label colors are very important to the move. Your participation in paying attention to the colors will really help both us and Denver Water with the success of the move. The label colors designate where you're sitting in the new building, by floor and by kind of section of that floor. So orange, for instance, I believe is 6th floor. 6th floor east. Yep. So if you're 6th floor east, you'll be orange. I know. And when you're checking out your totes, Steve, they're going to get.
Correct. When you check when you give them your name, you will get totes, and you will get the right color labels for your floor, as well as your cube number and where you're located. So all of that will be done. You don't have to worry about what color you have. You don't have to worry about getting the right color. They will give you the right color. Just make sure you use those correctly.
And then you'll also receive what we call a chair tag. So the totes are designed by whoever makes the labels are, the adhesive is designed to adhere to furniture but still peel off without leaving a bad residue. That works most of the time. I didn't create them. I didn't apply the adhesive. Some lots are better than other lots. You're not moving a great deal of furniture. They don't stick well to chairs. The adhesive does not stick well to fabric. It tends not to stick well to the plastic or rubber arms. They tend to fall off. So while you're checking out your totes, receiving your labels, receiving your number, they'll also give you a chair tag for your chair. We want you to use the wire ties, tie that off to your chair, and then affix your label with the assigned number to that chair tag. And that way it will not fall off during the move. So while the labels stick well and come off of furniture, they don't stick so well to chairs, they stick almost permanently to your monitor screen. Do not place the tote on your monitor screen. Do I want this one? Yep. Do not place your tote on the monitor screen. Looks like they're going to show you in a minute. They want you to place the label on the stand or on the back here, but the stand's one of the best. Keep in mind, if your stand is dusty, which it likely will be, you should wipe that dust off first, because again, that dust in between there will kind of peel the label off. What else do we need to talk about on packing or labeling? Oh, thank you. So on the totes, if you'd please put your label on the small end of the tote. When the totes are stacked, you can see if we've put the labels on the top of each tote, I can't see everything in that stack, but I can see this end. So if everybody places them on the end, it makes our jobs a little bit easier. On one of these totes I saw yesterday, somebody wasted a label by putting it on the end and on the side. See that gray one? They've got a label on the end and the side. Unnecessary. Again, for your staff, I think all in we've got something like 18,000 labels coming here. It adds up over time, so we're trying to help keep your budgets in check as well. If I believe the totes you'll be receiving, they should be clean. There should not be old move labels on them. If there are, cross out, if they're on the sides and everywhere else, just cross them out with your Sharpie when you're filling out yours. That'll help us know which label is yours. And again, if there's already a label there, just put your label over that label on the end of the tote. Any questions about packing totes or receiving your totes, the labels? Yes.
So suppose we check out 4 totes and then we find that we don't need all 4. Is there a chance to return the empty totes?
So the question is, if you check out 4 totes, you end up only packing 3 of those totes, what do you do with your 4th tote? Right now, the move team has asked that you go ahead and label that 4th tote and send it so we don't have a check out, check in, check, So if you've checked out 4, they want you to go ahead and label all 4 totes, put them in your stack, and send them to your new cube. That way on the following week after the move, you've got Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to unpack, and Thursday morning, I guess. You can check back in your 4 totes. And then I saw another question, or was it the same?
So mine was a little different because we have several storage rooms in our division, and we have a lot of extra boxes. So not everything. So we're wondering, we already have our boxes packed. Can we get extra labels?
Yes. So the question is, if your department has extra boxes, such as some copy paper boxes, don't order more than you need before the move. But if you've got things that are already boxed and the box is serviceable, stackable, it's not going to fall apart when it's lifted, then it can remain in those boxes. You would simply need to get some extra labels for those items and put the label with the destination location identifying where we want it to go on those boxes. Many of the storage rooms, storage closets, et cetera, we've addressed separately with the individual team leads, and we'll be handling those, many of them outside the actual move day. But on those other items that are in your work areas that still need to move, if they're in a box, they can remain in that box. I don't recall if I said serviceable, stackable. Part of stack will be that the lids are closed. If they're all open topped, I can't stack them very well and move them. So, but yes, you do not need to repack a good box.
We have odd items that are too large, or can we request extra tags?
Yes. So the question is, if you have odd items, that don't fit inside the tote, what do you do with that? First off, if they don't fit inside the tote, then they're big enough that we can move them differently, put a label on them, and if there's a good surface that label would adhere to, then just label them. If it's an odd item where you can't put the label on there, then you can use a chair tag to tie that tag on there and put the label on the tag. Any other? Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we're supposed to get some extra totes for our department. Do we pick it up at the same time, or do we pick it up at a different time?
Your core team rep will arrange to get the extra totes up to your areas.
Okay.
The answer is the core team rep. Oh, the question was, if your department needs extra totes for some of these special areas that are beyond just the individual's workspaces, when will those totes be available? And the core team rep will coordinate getting those totes to your department.
Thanks, Kurt. And that actually leads really well into the next part then, in terms of what to know about packing your stuff. So in our most recent transition meeting, we came up with a really simple mantra for the move. No tag, no move. What is that in Spanish? It's much better.
No etiqueta, no va.
So there you go. If you don't want something moved, don't put a label on it. If there is not a label on an item, it will not be moved. So conversely, if you want something moved, make sure that you put a label on it. As we talked about, odd-sized items, go ahead and just put a label on it if it doesn't fit into a tote. If something already is in a usable box, don't worry about putting it in a tote. A few other things to keep in mind. If you have personal items that you're taking over to the new administration building, go ahead and box those up and take those home now, and then bring them back the Monday afterwards. Kirk talked yesterday about this. It's not necessarily that they can't ensure they'll get there safely. It's just from an insurance standpoint, it's difficult to put a value on the little mug that your daughter made in kindergarten that is probably priceless to you, but is difficult for Denver Water or for Bueller to insure. So if there's something that you're truly concerned about from a personal nature, that if it were to get dropped or broken during the move, go ahead and take that home now and then bring it back on Monday. That's the easiest thing to do. Take all your personal items home now. Picture frames, mugs, all those types of things. Another thing to keep in mind, plants. Do not move a plant, please. They're messy. They tend to dump dirt at very inopportune times. So if you have a plant that you're planning on moving over to the new administration building, please take it home first and then bring it back on Monday. We will not be moving any plants. If you have an item that is you want to protect with bubble wrap, Denver Water is actually buying the bubble wrap, so get with your core team member and admin in your area that has a P card and purchase the additional bubble wrap that you need. We're responsible for doing that. Other questions about packing your stuff? We'll talk about IT here in just a second. So then that does lead us to specifically what we're doing in terms of labeling and packing IT stuff. And the IT folks have tried to make this as simple as possible from the standpoint that you don't have to move any of your computer equipment, you don't have to pack any of your computer equipment, you don't have to unplug any of your computer equipment. All you need to do is to label the correct items. The main things that you need to label from an IT standpoint are your monitors. We talked about putting a label on the base, not on the monitor screen itself, unless you want to. Brian's doing his best Vanna White here. Appreciate that. So you'll want to definitely label your monitor. If you have a desktop, it is a desktop, yes. If you have a desktop computer, you want to label that. If you have a laptop, we want you to label your docking station, but take your laptop home with you because we're going to be doing coop operations. Yes?
I may have missed this, but do we label it with our name or our employee ID number?
We'll get you afterward, because yes, we had a whole talk on how to label our.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
So if you've got a laptop, label your docking station, take your laptop home with you because we will be in coop and you will be working from home those days. If for some reason you're just going to take PTO and you don't want to move your laptop, then you do need to label that so that they know to move it. You also need to label your keyboard tray. If you want a keyboard tray in the new building, your old one has to be moved. Most of the admins or core team members in your area have already made a list of who's needs a keyboard tray in the new administration building. Label your keyboard tray if you want it moved. Bueller will come in, they will disassemble it at your desk. You don't need to worry about disassembling it, and they will reassemble it over in your new cube. In terms of where you actually want your keyboard tray and your monitor as well as your phone in the new building, once we get TCO, Temporary Certificate of Occupancy, we will be bringing groups over according to sections or whatever. We'll give you the opportunity to go to your cube and sit down in that workspace area and figure out where you want your keyboard tray and the associated monitors and where you want your phone, left or right, and you'll mark it probably with what, a Post-it note or something like that. So if you want your keyboard tray taken, label it. It will be disassembled and reassembled over there. You do not label your keyboard itself or the mouse. Or what? Or the phone. IT is going to be taking care of all of that. They will have a bag at each desk. You'll want to leave behind an extra sheet of labels. A couple labels is fine. You want to talk about this a little bit?
So IT will come in after everybody clears out the building at noon on Thursday. They'll start going around, and they've got about 20 people. It takes about 4 to 5 minutes per workstation. They will come in, they'll unplug everything, they'll wrap the cables. You will have already labeled your monitors and your docking station and all that. They've got the bags. They're going to basically put all the loose items in the bag. So your keyboard, the mouse, the phone. If you have like a Dymo label maker or something like that, they'll put all that stuff in here, along with they're going to be taking some notes of how things are set up in your cube, so they'll note which monitor is left and right. They've got little labels to put on those to indicate which is, because when they hook them back up, you want to make sure those are still the same way. They'll make any notes about that they need to on a sheet of paper, and then if you leave behind at least, say, 2 labels for them, just leave them on your desk. They'll write your new cube number, is how we're labeling them. They'll write your cube number on the label, and then they'll stick one of them in the bag, so that when Bueller comes behind, Bueller's got carts. They'll throw all the monitors on the carts, all the bags on the carts. They'll actually be moving them, and they'll get to your right cube. Then on Friday and Saturday, that same IT team will start going around, and they'll take everything back out of the bags. They'll get everything set up. They'll go through and they're going to test everything. Even if you have taken home a laptop, they've got extra laptops. They'll test the docking stations, make sure you've got connectivity to make sure everything's set up right. So just leave a couple labels behind, but you essentially don't have to do anything. Just leave it all there, and they'll take care of it. Yep.
So a lot of people right before the move start getting really anxious as to, I'm not going to get enough labels. Again, as I said, we're sending an amazing amount of labels down here. What we've decided on the move team, the core team, and so forth, is that each person, as you check out your totes, you're going to receive 2 sheets of the labels. There's 6 labels on each, so that gives you 12 labels, and the average person is only going to need about 8. You've got 4 for your totes, 1 for your chair, that's 5. You've got 1 for each of your monitors, that's 6, 7, and 1 for your computer or docking station, that's 8. If you've got a keyboard tray, that's 9. That still leaves 3 on that sheet that you can leave behind for the IT team. Again, in the event you're one of the people tasked with helping with some of those other common areas within your department, other labels will be available with your color to then label those items. But the average person's only going to need 2 sheets.
Yep, let me walk this over to you.
So a couple of things, like Brian said, I think if you have extra labels, just leave the extra labels in the cube. Doesn't matter how many they are, just leave them there. If you have a Dymo label printer, the smaller ones, we're probably going to label that. We still need to confirm with Bueller how to move those so they don't get damaged. If you've got a small printer like an inkjet or a DeskJet, you're going to need to label that. Things like bed scanners and other personal printers, those will all get labeled too because those will get moved separately. As far as the monitors, yes, label your monitors on the base. If you have a desktop PC, we would ask that you please shut down your PC when you leave for the day, because we don't want to have to go through the shutdown process. That just adds extra time to our teardown. Other than that, I think we've got it all covered. So.
What if you don't have a base on your monitor?
Oh, that's a good point, Mary. So if you are a user that has a sit-stand desk of any type, or you have a monitor that's on some sort of swing arm, when we come through to do the disassembly process, we'll take all those monitors and put them back on normal bases, the typical desktop style base. So you don't have to worry about that. Like Brian said, we'll unplug everything, cables and cords. So just leave everything as is and shut your PC down. Yes. Do not put a label on the screen because it won't come off. So put it on the back.
Yes.
So for monitor stands, should they go with the electronics?
So the quest.
So a lot of people have risers that help raise their monitors up to a better level for their eye level. Go ahead and attach a label to each of those. If you've got 2, attach one to each of those. Again, the labels will get filled out with your new cube number. And attach a label to those. That way the IT team can make a note that you've got stands. Bueller knows so that we move the stands. And that way they get to your cube and they get there before the IT team's reassembling things so that the monitors can go back on them. Just leave them there, though. Yeah, leave them there and tag them just like you're tagging your computer. We'll treat that as part of the IT equipment, but those do need a label. Thank you. Yes?
So on the stand-up desks, that's what I got. I have a mat that you stand on right now. Do I bring that to the next building? You want me to label that?
Yeah, roll it up and tape it and put a label on it.
Okay, so they'll move it with the bins,
Yep.
not with the.
Right, we that.
Yeah. So if you've got if you currently have a standing desk, a sit-stand type assembly at your desk, and you have a mat that you stand on to cushion your feet, that is authorized to go. You need to label it. Most of them are such that you can roll them up, tape them in that little coil, and you can, after you label them, place them on top of your totes for us to move. I guess since we're talking about labeling special items, we might as well mention the core team has approved that you can take your small whiteboards if they meet the requirements of not above the height of the cube and they're going to fit in your cube, and you're one of the folks that uses a small whiteboard maybe to tell people you're out to lunch. You can take those. If they're small enough, you can put them in your tote. Great, put them in your tote. If they're larger than will fit in your tote, then go ahead and put a label on them. I think yesterday we told everybody to go ahead and put them on the back, but I'm not going to see them on the back if they're hanging on your cube wall still. So if you are taking that, take it off the cube wall, set it next to your totes where my team can easily see that label, knowing that it needs to move.
All right, next step then, moving day itself. As Brian mentioned, whichever day it happens to be, right now we're targeting October 31st. On October 31st at noon, the building will close. We will be going into continuity of operations, or COOP. And at noon, security folks will start walking through the building and kicking people out. It's for your safety as well as for the safety of Kirk's folks. They're going to be in here right at noon starting to move things, and you don't want to be in the way when they're moving. When you leave here at noon, understand that that will be the last time you will be in this administration building. So give a shout out to whatever, pick up whatever you need, and know that you will not be coming back in here. If you forget an item, what are we doing about that, Brian? Find somebody on the core team that you know that might be able to grab it, but you will not be allowed back in here. The only people allowed during the moving days, that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, allowed into this building or the new building will be people who have been pre-approved by security, and they'll all have a special little wristband. And we will have security at both locations checking for bands because we don't want people in here who aren't part of the move itself. So please understand that once you leave here on Thursday, you won't be coming back into this building at all, and the next time you'll be back on campus is Monday morning when the administration building opens at 5 a.m. Also, when you're working at home, those 2 days, 3 days, 1 day, whatever it is, unless you have an urgent business need that directly impacts our customers, please do not call the IT help desk. They're going to have plenty of other stuff going on. So unless your particular issue is basically going to stop the water from flowing to a customer, please don't bother IT. They've got a ton of stuff going on. And again, please don't plan on waiting till the last second to pack. You'll be surprised how much longer it takes than you actually think it does. If you're coming in that Thursday morning thinking I'll pack all of my stuff up and be done by noon, it's not going to happen. Start thinking about that now. You should have already 6S'd your area. If you haven't yet, please do so and start thinking about that packing now. And you would probably want to start packing depending on how much stuff you'd have. I would start the first of that week that we're moving as soon as we let you know. And then after the move, so again, the administration building will open at 5 a.m. That Monday morning, whatever the moving date happens to be. Please don't plan on coming in here like Sunday evening to get a head start on things. The building will not be open then. You'll still need a wristband to get in. It'll open Monday morning at 5 a.m. and we will have a lot of resources available to help you get through the new building. We will have people in the lobby to direct you to where you're going. We'll have the core team members on each of their floors to kind of direct people where to go. When you get to your desk, you will have a little information booklet, kind of a how-to of the new building. It walks through, it has maps of every floor, where all the conference rooms, where all the work rooms are, where all the wellness rooms are, where each of the different divisions are placed, where the bathrooms are, break rooms, all that type of thing, how the break rooms operate, how many microwaves, where the coffee makers are, those types of things, instructions on how to deal with the new water recycling system that we'll have in the new building, sustainability features, all of that will be kind of in a one-stop shop. Kirk and his team will be set up on the third floor with kind of a lost and found and a troubleshooting area. If a tote got delivered to your cube that wasn't supposed to, or you didn't get all of your totes, you'll be able to go there and start to figure it out. IT will also be down there if you have any questions. If for some reason your computer doesn't fire up when you get to your workstation, they'll be there to help you through that as well. The other piece of it is when once you unpack, and we encourage you to unpack as quickly as possible, because your totes will be due back to Bueller the Thursday of the week that we move. So we move in on, you have your stuff sitting at your new cube on Monday. We would encourage you to unpack Monday morning and try to get those bins back as quickly as possible. Bueller will be taking a load on Monday of cubes to get out of here, but you will only have until Thursday of that week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you need to be unpacked and get the totes back to Bueller on Thursday. Very important point to emphasize. If you checked out 4 totes, you need to check in what's that? Huh? Oh, it was Siri? Oh. Wow, okay. If you check out 4 totes, you will be responsible for checking in 4 totes. That's why we don't want to go back and forth too much with, if you check out 4 totes and find out you need only 3, go ahead and move all 4, because if you check out 4, you will be responsible for turning in 4. And if we have any totes that are missing, Denver Water is responsible for paying for those. So we want to be responsible stewards of our ratepayers' money, so make sure that you check in the same number of totes that you checked out. And the last piece, and I don't know, Brian, you might want to talk about this a little bit, but for supervisors that are here, make sure that you give your folks the time, not just on Monday, but particularly that entire week, to be able to unpack and get familiar with the new building. And for those of you who may report to somebody or whatever, give yourself time to get used to the new building. Go walk around, explore, find out where areas are. You want to talk a little bit about that at all?
Yeah, just especially if you're a supervisor, and we've talked about this at the E-Team too, start clearing your calendars. I mean, I've blocked 3 weeks off on my calendar, obviously, because I'm pretty heavily involved in the move. But give yourself time to pack. Give yourself time to success. Don't make it stressful on yourself. Make sure you can get packed. And then when you get into the new building, I mean, have a little fun too. There's a bunch of cool places to explore in the new building, checking out the new break rooms, checking out the different views, finding your friends that are on different floors. Give yourself time to actually move in and enjoy it, just like you would move into a new house or an apartment or something like that. Just give yourself a little time. Don't book a ton of meetings that Monday and Tuesday. Just give yourself some time to get in there because you're going to be going through a change too. It's moving into a new, just like moving into a new apartment or a house, that's a change and you have to get used to it. You got to figure out where all your stuff is and, where I want to put the pens and, how all that stuff works. It just takes a little bit of time. And I think there's only one person at Denver Water, Alan Crouch, who has actually who will have worked in the last 3 administration buildings, because you worked in the one downtown, right, for a year, then you moved into this building, and now you're going to move into the next building. That's pretty cool. So we may have to do a little story on Al and his experiences working in 3 different Denver Water Administration buildings over his career too, which is pretty cool. But you know how it goes. It can be a little bit of a bumpy ride. It's not going to be perfect. I will say too that there are going to be punch list items after we move in that will not be done yet. So you will see contractors going around if we've got a patch of drywall that needs to be resanded or repainted, or a light fixture that's not working appropriately. When you put in that many different new electronics, they don't always work right away. So they'll be under warranty. So if something's not working, we'll have a number that you can call or an email so you can report that and we'll get it fixed. But don't expect that you won't see people working in the building. The landscaping is not going to be done this fall. If you were outside this morning, you've seen that we missed that window. So all the landscaping is going to happen next spring. That includes a lot of the hardscaping, the trees. So there's still going to be work on site. And obviously this building has to be demolished and there's a parking lot that goes underneath it as well. One last thing, the parking garage, when we move in there, originally, and we still intend to do this, the first floor is primarily intended for Denver Water vehicles because it also has a taller clearance, so for some of the larger vehicles. Second and third floor is intended for Denver Water employees. There are about 350 spots on the second and third floor. There's 600 people in the admin building. So not everybody's going to fit in the garage, even if we have some people on the first floor. So this parking around this building and the existing parking is not going to change until we get this building down and the new parking lot open. But just a heads up, if you're one of the people that come later in the day, especially during hail season, you may not be able to park in the garage because everybody else got there first. So just managing expectations about how that's going to work too. So just kind of be heads up on that.
So
yes.
I know we talked a little bit about the color of the labels, and I heard something about we're writing cube numbers on there. When do we get the information that we actually write on the labels?
That'll be handed out. So the question was, when do we get the information that you'll write on the labels? That'll be provided to you at the time you check out the bins and pick up your labels. They'll give you your cube number, and you'll also be given a Sharpie. We ordered enough Sharpies for everybody, so you get a brand new Sharpie. It won't be branded. It won't say like Denver Water OCR 2019, but it'll be a Sharpie. And as big as you can, write your cube number. If it's like 365A, write 365A as neatly as you can on those. That will cue them in, because Bueller doesn't know your name. So if you write Bond, they'll think it's a joke and think it's James Bond. Or if you write good, they'll think, they won't know who that is. So all they're going on is the cube numbers. So write your cube number on there and stick it on.
So with that, let's go ahead and open it up for any other questions we might have missed. Yes, Jay. Is this a video-related question, or is it?
No, is there an update on, so we've got that storage closet that's got all of our stuff in it. Is there an update on when that stuff is going to move?
The question is specific to external affairs storage closet move date. It's the 29th and 30th is when that'll move, along with RDA.
It doesn't go earlier? I thought that storage closet stuff was going to move.
We're moving on the 31st, 1st, and 2nd. So the storage closet is moving on the 29th and 30th.
Okay.
So we have to have the, everything cleared out because they're going to take the shelving with them.
They're going to pack. Yeah, we're working with that team directly. You don't have to do anything. Don't worry.
Okay.
Same with that place at Quibus, I imagine. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Mary.
Okay, say I have my four tubs, but only 3 show up. I empty them. Can I turn those 3 in, or do I have to wait till I find that 4th one to turn everything in?
That's an excellent question. Have you met Mary?
Mary. So the question was, if you check out 4 totes, you properly label all 4 of your totes to send them to the new building, and only 3 totes arrive. That'll be something Mike Rue will be going on a wild goose chase looking for your extra tote on Monday morning. But the crew is really good at getting stuff moved that's labeled, that's properly labeled. The totes stack very well 4 high. We ask that you don't stack them higher than 4 high. It just starts getting cumbersome and dangerous for you to lift them off at that height. So if you've got 4 totes and you've got 4 labels on the totes and they're all in that same stack, the probability of us getting all 4 of your totes to your new cube is 99.99%. Yesterday the question came up that if your whole group, each person's only going to use 1 tote, for instance, can they help us by stacking their totes and sharing the same tote dolly? And yes, that would be awesome. That's what we would be doing anyway. So if 3 or 4 people all have 1 tote and they're all sitting in the same area, they're all going to the same color and the same area, then you could stack those, and we will still separate them at destination to the appropriate cube as they're labeled. And then after you unpack, turn in the totes that you have, let us know, trouble ticket wise, we're going to be on the 3rd floor somewhere. And there'll be a trouble ticket type process, both for IT related items, move related items, that you'll be able to, tell us, hey, we think we're missing this, or we think we're missing that. Even though this is a large move, I don't expect to have very many missing, lost pieces. It's going from here, going to there. It'll be in one of 2 places. It'll be in that building, or it'll have got left behind here because it didn't have a label on it. Any other questions right now? Yes.
What's going to happen to all the plants that are here? Do those get moved over by you guys too? Or are they staying? Or?
The question is, what's happening to all the plants that are here? If they're the Denver water plants downstairs, we're going to let people take them, like we did with our Xeriscape garden, because those will not be moving over to the new building. Take them. Yeah, we are not moving any plants to the new building. If you have some in your cubicle area that you want to take home and then bring back, that's fine. But we have not figured out what we're going to do yet with like internal landscaping, so we are not going to take any of the current plants. Yes.
I know you guys have amazing videos, but sometimes some of the folks who are here are doing their successing very last minute. Is there any type of a checklist that we could have, kind of say, you know, don't forget, and just say, here's like a little photo of where to label things, and then did you tag the footrest? Did you know, just something really quick that we could kind of whip up for?
We're going to. Yeah, we are going to do a how to move video that takes you through the tote checkout process labeled, basically kind of a shortened version of what we did here today. How to label the totes, what to do with your IT equipment, oversight. We'll be putting together a short little video about that.
And also asking the core team members, of which you are one, to go around and walk that, you know, before the move and kind of help us with each area to make sure, yep, this person has done all of the things, this person's done nothing, you need some help, here's the video link, what can I do to help you? But we'll need those core team members also to help go around with each within their area and make sure everybody's ready to go. And we'll be asking the division chiefs to do the same thing.
One question that had come up through the rumor mill about a dress code in the new building. Not sure where that came from, but there is no new dress code in the new building. If you have a uniform requirement or supervisory requirement of what you're supposed to wear, it will be the same in the new building as it is now. And if you don't, then just continue to dress professionally and it won't be, but nothing is changing from that standpoint, but that was one rumor we wanted to kill right away. Other questions? Thank you all for your time on this snowy morning. Be safe and get ready for the move.